What if starting today, no one could ever control your mind again? I want you to imagine it as clearly as possible. Picture yourself walking through your day without a single person having the power to twist your thoughts, to bend your will, or to press against you in ways that leave you doubting yourself. Imagine that every insult aimed at you falls flat. Every manipulation that once would have worked just crumbles before it even reaches you. Every attempt at control slips away like water through your hands. Think about the times in your life when you gave your mind over without even realizing it. Maybe it was when someone told you that you weren't good enough, and you carried that judgment inside for weeks. Maybe it was when you believed a lie because you wanted it to be true, or when you let someone's authority weigh heavier than your own clarity. How many times have you walked away from a conversation, replaying it over and over in your head, wishing you had spoken differently, wishing you had not allowed their words to carve their way into you? I have been there, and I know you have too. The truth is, the most dangerous form of captivity is not chains on your body, but strings tied around your thoughts. If your mind can be ruled, then you can be ruled. But if your mind is free, then nothing, no insult, no deception, no betrayal, can command you. True freedom does not begin in the world around you. It begins right here, in the space between your ears. Now, I want to make something clear before we go further. When I say no one will ever rule your mind again, I do not mean you become stubborn, blind, or shut yourself away from the world. That is not strength. That is just another form of weakness dressed in disguise. What I mean is something much greater. I am talking about becoming mentally sovereign, someone whose thoughts are their own, someone unshakable, someone who moves through life with clarity and strategy instead of drifting on the winds of influence. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He wrote about power, politics, and human nature with a sharpness that still cuts to this day. But the foundation of all his lessons rests on one truth. Before you can rule others, before you can stand above circumstance, you must first rule yourself. And the very first battlefield is your own mind. Whoever rules your mind rules you. If that ruler is someone else, then you are already conquered. But if that ruler is you, then you cannot be broken. That is what this video is about. It is about reclaiming that sovereignty and protecting it with everything you have. Over the next several minutes, I am going to share with you 8 lessons that will build an unbreakable mental fortress. These are not abstract ideas, and they are not soft comforts. They are weapons, tools, strategies. Everything you need to walk through life with your mind beyond the reach of anyone's grasp. And before we begin, I want you to make a commitment to yourself right now. Put it in the comments, say it aloud, carve it into your memory. No one will ever rule my mind. Claim it. Own it. The moment you say it, you begin the process of becoming untouchable. Lesson 1. Protect the mind from intrusion. Most people do not even realize that their minds are being invaded every single day. They think their thoughts are their own, but in reality, those thoughts were planted by someone else, an authority, a friend, a parent, a stranger on a screen. Someone made them doubt themselves. Someone whispered fear into their ear. Someone repeated a lie often enough that it became believable. And without even noticing, they surrendered the most sacred thing they had, the freedom of their mind. When I was younger, I thought my opinions were mine. I thought my feelings rose from within me. But if I am honest, so many of those feelings came from the influence of others, teachers who told me who I was, peers who decided my worth, even family whose judgments clung to me long after their voices were gone. Every one of those moments was a seed planted inside me, and I tended those seeds without realizing what I was doing. I gave my energy to weeds, and those weeds choked me. This is how control begins. It rarely comes as chains. It comes as suggestion. It comes as subtle nudges that seem harmless at first, until they begin to shape what you believe about yourself and the world. The truth is, if you are not actively protecting your mind, then someone else is already writing on its walls. That is why most people are easy to manipulate. They are like open gates, unguarded and vulnerable, letting anyone walk in and rearrange the furniture of their thoughts. To guard your mind, you have to begin by noticing. Notice the way certain words linger after they are spoken. Notice how one comment from someone can replay endlessly in your head while dozens of kinder words are forgotten. Notice how media, advertising, or authority figures try to tell you what to value, what to fear, what to desire. Every one of these is an intrusion, and every time you allow it, you hand over power. Machiavelli would have seen this for what it is. He knew that rulers, leaders, and manipulators win not because they have more strength, but because they can convince others to think in a way that serves them. The easiest way to control someone is not through force, but through influence. If you can make someone believe they are weak, you do not need to chain them. They will chain themselves. So the first step in becoming untouchable is to protect the gate of your mind. Guard it as though it is a fortress, because it is. Do not let every opinion, every judgment, every fear wander in unchecked. Decide for yourself what deserves to stay. And when you hear words meant to plant doubt or submission in you, see them for what they are, an enemy's attempt to breach your defenses. I promise you this. The moment you begin guarding your mind, you will feel a shift. You will notice how many times a day people try to plant something in you. You will notice how subtle it can be, how often it has worked in the past. But with awareness, you will also feel a new strength rising inside you. You will stop accepting every seed thrown your way, and you will begin choosing which ideas grow in your soil. That choice alone is power. That choice is the foundation of sovereignty. Lesson 2. Master your reactions. There is something I learned too late in life, and I want you to hear it clearly now. When someone provokes you, their goal is never the words they speak. It is your reaction. They want to see you flinch. They want to see you break. They want to see you explode so they can stand back and say, "Look, I control you." And every time you give them that, every time you hand your calmness over to their insult, you have given them your crown without a fight. Think back on a time when someone made you angry. Maybe it was a cutting remark. Maybe it was disrespect. Maybe it was rejection. Did the anger rise in you before you even had time to think? Did you lash out, argue, defend yourself, cry, retreat? In that moment, who was really in charge? You, or the person who knew exactly what buttons to press? I remember being in situations where one sentence from someone could ruin an entire day of mine. I would walk away from the encounter still burning, still replaying what I should have said, still trapped in the fire of my own reaction. And the truth is, they had already won. They had claimed not just a moment of my time, but hours of my mind. They had walked away free, and I had walked away chained. That is the cost of unguarded reactions. Machiavelli knew this better than most. He wrote that a ruler must first command himself before he could command others. If you cannot govern your own impulses, then you are ruled by them, and anyone who knows how to stir those impulses holds the reins of your life. People test you constantly. They look for the cracks. They push. They prod. They provoke. And the moment you react without thinking, you show them where the crack is. You show them where to press next time. But imagine this instead. Someone insults you, and you do not flinch. Someone mocks you, and you remain still. Someone ignores you, and your face does not change. Inside you feel the pull, yes, but you do not let it spill into the world. You pause. You breathe. You decide, not them. That pause, that silence, that calm, it unsettles people. It makes them wonder what is happening inside your mind. They cannot see through the calm surface, and suddenly they feel smaller, weaker, less certain. You have kept control, and now the power belongs to you. I am not saying you should kill your emotions. Number. Emotions are part of being alive, but you must learn to be their master, not their slave. Think of your emotions as fire. When fire is under control, it warms you, it gives light, it cooks your food. But when it is uncontrolled, it burns your house to the ground. Your reactions are the same. Controlled, they can guide you. Uncontrolled, they will destroy you. Start small. The next time someone says something designed to irritate you, resist the urge to snap back. Hold your silence, even just for a moment. Let the words hang in the air without rushing to fill the space. You will feel the pressure inside you, the heat rising, but that moment of self-command will change everything. Each time you do it, you build strength. Each time you do it, you prove to yourself that you are in charge, not them. And the calmer you remain, the stronger you appear. People respect those who do not lose control. They trust leaders who can stay steady in chaos. And more than that, they fear those they cannot provoke. Because if I cannot shake you with anger, with insults, with fear, then I cannot rule you. I cannot touch you. So I want you to make yourself a promise right now. Say it, write it, claim it. I will never hand my reactions to anyone else again. No one deserves that power but me. The day you decide this, the day you begin practicing it, is the day you stop being controlled. That is the day you become untouchable. Lesson 3. Think strategically, not emotionally. Most people live like leaves in the wind. Someone offends them, and they are furious. Someone praises them, and they feel 10 feet tall. Someone ignores them, and suddenly they are small, wounded, uncertain of their worth. They swing back and forth on this rope of emotion, and they do not even realize that the rope is being pulled by others. That is why they are predictable. That is why they are easy to manipulate. And that is why they remain weak. But if you want freedom, if you want power, if you want your mind to be your own, you cannot live like this. You cannot live as a reactor. You must live as a strategist. A strategist does not ask, "How do I feel right now?" A strategist asks, "What is the smart move here?" Feelings pass. Feelings shift. Feelings can mislead you. But calculation, clarity, strategy, these are what allow you to win. I think about all the times I have made decisions in the heat of emotion. Maybe I was angry and sent a message I later regretted. Maybe I was desperate and trusted someone I should not have. Maybe I was discouraged and quit too soon. Every single one of those choices came from emotion, and every single one cost me. That is what happens when you let feelings drive your actions. They make you foolish, and the consequences last long after the feeling is gone. Machiavelli wrote about this very thing. He observed that the wise person acts quickly and decisively because they see clearly what needs to be done, while the foolish one wastes time reacting, blinded by their own impulses. When you live emotionally, you delay, you hesitate, or you lash out without thinking. And while you are tangled in feelings, someone else, someone thinking strategically, makes the smart move and wins. So how do you live like a strategist? You begin by pausing before every decision. You step back from your own feelings long enough to ask, if I react right now, who benefits? If your anger benefits them, you wait. If your sadness benefits them, you stand tall. If your eagerness benefits them, you slow down. That question, who benefits, is the strategist's shield. Imagine this. Someone insults you in front of others. If you explode in anger, they have succeeded. You look weak, childish, easy to control. But if you smile faintly, maybe laugh and remain steady, you have already won. Why? Because you have denied them what they wanted most, your reaction. Everyone watching can see it too. They see your calm, your strength, your control. The person who thought they ruled you suddenly looks small. That is strategy. It works in relationships as well. How many people ignore red flags because they feel good in the moment? How many trust sweet words over proven actions? That is emotion leading them to ruin. A strategist, however, does not get lost in words. A strategist studies motives, patterns, outcomes. They see not just what someone says, but why they say it. They are not blinded by feeling, and because of that, they cannot be fooled so easily. This shift takes training. You have to catch yourself. The next time you feel the surge of emotion, anger, desire, jealousy, fear, pause and ask, what is the smart move? Not the emotional move, not the move that feels good in this second. The smart move. That one question alone can save you years of regret. To live strategically is to live untouchable. It means your choices belong to you, not to whatever feeling happens to rise in the moment. It means you stop being the puppet pulled by emotion and start being the player who moves with purpose. That is how you stop being ruled. That is how you begin to rule yourself. Lesson 4. See through motives. One of the greatest mistakes I made in my earlier years was believing words at face value. I wanted to trust people. I wanted to think that what someone said was who they were. But over time I learned a lesson that I want you to carry with you. Words can be the most dangerous disguise. People will say what you want to hear. They will dress their intentions in kindness, in loyalty, in love, but their actions always reveal the truth. And if you don't train yourself to see through motives, you will always be ruled by someone who knows how to speak the right words. Think about how many times someone has told you they had your best interest in mind, but later you discovered that they were acting only for themselves. Maybe it was a friend who warned you against a choice, not because it would harm you, but because they envied you. Maybe it was someone who encouraged you, not because they believed in you, but because they knew it would serve their plans. The hardest betrayals do not come from enemies. They come from people who know how to cloak their motives in words you wanted to believe. Machiavelli saw this with painful clarity. He understood that human beings rarely act out of pure honesty. There are always interests at play: power, gain, security, reputation. To survive, he said, you must look not at what people claim, but at what they actually do. Their actions tell you the story their words are trying to hide. And when you learn to read actions over words, you pierce through the mask and see the machinery underneath. I remember once trusting someone because they always spoke of loyalty. They repeated it again and again. Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. But when the moment of choice arrived, their actions went against everything they had promised. That day, I understood. Words had been the bait, and I had been hooked because I wanted to believe. From then on, I began paying closer attention. If someone claims they are loyal, but acts only when it benefits them, I do not trust their loyalty. If someone claims they love, but constantly take more than they give, I do not trust their love. Words can deceive. Actions rarely do. And this matters because if you fail to see motives, you will constantly be pulled by others' designs. You will celebrate when they want you to, despair when they want you to, obey without even realizing it. But when you see motives clearly, you take back control. You can decide whether their path aligns with yours or not. You can step aside from traps before they close around you. To sharpen this ability, you must practice suspicion. Not paranoia, but clarity. When someone makes a promise, ask yourself, what do they gain if I believe them? When someone encourages me, what happens if I act on their words? When someone criticizes me, are they trying to help me grow, or are they trying to weaken me? These questions are not cynicism. They are survival. True sovereignty begins here, when you stop being hypnotized by appearances and begin to see the currents beneath. Because the moment you understand someone's motive, they can no longer rule your mind with their words. You have stripped away the disguise, and what remains is reality. And once you see reality, you cannot be fooled. Lesson 5. Cultivate detachment. I used to believe that caring deeply was always a strength, that the more I invested my heart into people, into outcomes, into dreams, the stronger I was. But over time, I discovered something harsh. When you are too attached, you become vulnerable. The things you cling to most tightly are the very things others can use to control you. Think of it this way. If someone knows what you cannot bear to lose, they already hold a leash on you. If they know you are desperate for love, they can withhold affection, and you will bend to earn it. If they know you are terrified of rejection, they can threaten to walk away, and you will obey to keep them. If they know you crave approval, one frown from them is enough to make you change course. Attachment becomes a weakness, and weakness is always exploited. I remember a relationship where I was so desperate for their approval that I would silence myself just to keep the peace. Every time I thought about walking away, fear tied me down. I was not free. I was a prisoner of my own attachment, and that prison had no walls, no guards, only my clinging mind. When it finally ended, I realized that the chains had been mine all along. Detachment does not mean you stop loving, or that you walk through life cold and unfeeling. That is not what I am saying. Detachment means you hold everything with open hands instead of clenched fists. You appreciate people. You enjoy experiences. You work for your goals, but you do not let them own you. You do not let them define your worth or dictate your choices. You do not collapse when they are gone. Machiavelli would have called this strength of judgment. He understood that passion blinds, and when you are blinded, others can lead you anywhere they wish. But when you cultivate detachment, you keep your vision clear. You are not swayed by sudden affection, not shaken by sudden rejection. You remain steady, not because you do not care, but because you refuse to be enslaved by caring too much. The practice of detachment begins in small moments. The next time someone praises you, notice how it lifts you. Accept it, enjoy it, but do not let it become the source of your self-worth. The next time someone criticizes you, notice the sting, but do not let it define you. These moments are tests. They ask, will you give your mind over to this attachment, or will you remain free? The freer you are from unhealthy attachments, the harder it is for anyone to rule you. If they cannot bribe you with praise, cannot bind you with fear of loss, cannot sway you with their approval, then they have no chain to pull. And that is the essence of sovereignty. Caring without clinging, loving without losing yourself, walking through life whole, even when pieces of it fall away. Lesson 6. Control information flow. One of the most dangerous illusions people live under is the belief that they are thinking for themselves. Most of the time, they are not. Most of the time, their thoughts have been planted by family, by schools, by media, by the endless stream of words and images that pour into their minds day after day. People think they are choosing freely, but in reality, they are simply repeating what they have been fed. And once you see this, once you recognize how much of your mind has been built from outside voices, it becomes impossible to ignore. There was a time in my life when I consumed information without question. News, books, casual conversations, even the opinions of acquaintances, everything found a place in me. I thought I was being informed, but really I was being shaped. Subtly, quietly, without resistance. I found myself repeating phrases I had never examined, arguing for beliefs I had never tested, fearing things I had never experienced, all because the flow of information had carried me along like a river, and I didn't even know I was drowning. The truth is, whoever controls information often controls the mind. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. Leaders, rulers, and manipulators of every age have always understood that narratives shape reality. Control the story, and you control perception. Control perception, and you control action. People will walk willingly into cages as long as the story they are told makes it sound like freedom. And unless you guard the gates of your mind, unless you filter what is allowed in, you will be ruled without ever realizing it. So I learned to take responsibility for what I consume. I no longer read every book just because it was handed to me. I no longer watch every broadcast just because it played on the screen. I became selective, not rigid, not closed off, but deliberate. I began to ask, does this information strengthen me, or does it weaken me? Does it sharpen my thinking, or does it dull me with noise? Does it come from someone who has earned my attention, or from someone who profits off my distraction? The difference was immediate. When you stop letting every word and image into your mind, silence returns. And in silence, you can hear your own voice again. At first, it feels strange, almost unsettling, because you realize how long you have been echoing others instead of speaking for yourself. But with time, that silence becomes power. It becomes the foundation for inner authority. Because now you are not building on borrowed thoughts. You are building on chosen ones. I say this because I know how easy it is to think you are immune. Everyone believes they are too smart to be manipulated. But the truth is, intelligence has nothing to do with it. In fact, the most intelligent people are often the easiest to sway, because they pride themselves on being informed. They read constantly, they absorb endlessly, and they mistake volume for truth. But wisdom is not found in how much you consume. It is found in how much you discern. When you begin to control the flow of information into your mind, you will feel a shift. People around you will still argue about the latest headlines, still repeat the same tired opinions, still cling to the narratives fed to them. But you will stand apart. Not because you are stubborn, but because you are free. You have chosen to guard your narrative. You have refused to let others write your story. And that is the kind of power no ruler, no manipulator, no authority can ever take from you. Lesson 7. Build inner authority. There was a time when every decision I made was tested against the question, what will they think of me? I did not even know who they were most of the time. Sometimes it was my parents' voices echoing in my head. Sometimes it was the imagined judgment of friends. Sometimes it was society at large. But whoever they were, they sat at the throne of my mind, dictating my choices, shaping my words, guiding my actions. I was not my own authority. I was a servant to ghosts, and this is the truth that most people never confront. If you do not build inner authority, someone else will always provide outer authority to rule you. You will spend your life following orders, not because you want to, but because you have never learned to lead yourself. People without convictions bend easily. They look around before they act. They hesitate before they speak. And in that hesitation, power is taken from them. Machiavelli understood this better than most. He knew the rulers who lacked firm principles were destroyed by the shifting winds of circumstance. They could not stand when pressure came, because they were built on the fragile ground of other people's approval. And the same is true for every one of us. If your identity is borrowed, it can be repossessed. If your values are second-hand, they can be taken from you. But if your authority comes from within, if it is built on your own tested principles, then no one can strip it away. I had to learn this through failure. I remember agreeing to things I despised, just to avoid conflict. I remember staying silent when I should have spoken, just because I feared someone's disapproval. Each time I betrayed myself, I felt the ground beneath me weaken, and each time I stood firm, even trembling, even uncertain, I felt a new kind of strength rise inside me. Inner authority is not built in one moment. It is forged in countless small acts of courage. When you decide that your truth matters more than the noise of the crowd. Building inner authority means asking yourself, what do I truly believe, apart from the voices that surround me? What principles would I defend, even if I stood alone? What values would I keep, even if they cost me everything? These are not comfortable questions. They strip you bare. They reveal how much of you is genuine and how much is performance. But when you answer them honestly, when you begin to stand on the foundation of your own principles, you become untouchable. I do not mean that others will stop opposing you. They won't. People will still criticize, still challenge, still try to bend you. But when you have built your own authority, their attacks no longer shake you. You may feel them, but you will not be moved by them. Their words will hit, but they will not enter. Their judgments will sound, but they will not rule. Because the throne of your mind is no longer vacant. It is occupied by you. And that is the great shift. Most people spend their lives waiting for someone else to give them permission. They wait for the teacher to validate them, the boss to promote them, the friend to approve of them, the world to recognize them. But the moment you crown yourself with authority, quietly, without ceremony, you stop waiting, you stop begging, you stop bending, you start living as though your word is final. Not arrogant, not reckless, but sovereign. Lesson 8, Project Unshakable Presence. There is a kind of strength that does not need to announce itself. It does not roar. It does not plead. It does not push itself forward. It is quiet, but it is undeniable. You can feel it when someone enters the room, the way the air shifts, the way others straighten in their seats without knowing why. That is what it means to project unshakable presence. It is not about pretending to be fearless or acting like nothing touches you. It is about carrying yourself with such calm certainty that no one dares to imagine they can rule you. I had to learn this the hard way. In the past, I tried too hard to prove my strength. I raised my voice when I felt ignored. I forced confidence when I felt small. I tried to dominate because I was afraid of being dominated. But all of that was theater, and people always sense when you are acting. They can see when your calm is fragile, when your confidence is hollow. And once they sense it, they know exactly how to break you. The true shift came when I stopped performing and started rooting myself. When I entered a room, I no longer asked, do they like me? Do they respect me? Do they notice me? I asked only, am I steady? Am I clear? Am I sovereign in my own mind? When the answer was yes, something remarkable happened. I no longer needed to prove anything. My presence spoke for me. The less I tried, the stronger I became. This is what Machiavelli would call the appearance of stability. He knew that leaders who could not project composure lost authority the moment they showed weakness. And it is the same in our own lives. If you flinch at every insult, if you crumble at every challenge, if you react wildly whenever pressure mounts, you announce to the world that you can be controlled. But if you remain composed, if you can sit in discomfort without rushing to escape it, you send a very different message. You tell the world, nothing you do will move me from my ground. Unshakable presence does not mean you are never afraid. It means you do not let fear speak louder than you. It does not mean you never feel anger or sadness. It means you do not let those feelings distort your stance. Think of it like a tree in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain lashes, the ground floods. But the tree does not try to fight the storm. It simply holds its ground. Its roots dig deep, its trunk stands tall, its presence endures. And in time, the storm passes. But the tree remains. That is what it means to be unshakable. I want you to notice how others respond when you begin to carry yourself this way. They may test you at first, poking for a reaction, trying to see if they can get under your skin. But the longer you refuse to give them that satisfaction, the more they shift. Some will grow frustrated because their tricks no longer work. Others will grow respectful because deep down everyone admires composure. Either way, you win. Either way, your presence has already reshaped the game. When you project this kind of calm, you no longer have to fight for control. People simply stop trying to rule you. They sense that you cannot be moved, and so they adjust around you. They respect your ground because you have proven you will not abandon it. That is the final lesson in building a mind no one can rule. It is not only about what you protect inside, but also about what you radiate outward. A presence so steady that no manipulation, no deception, no authority can bend it. So now we return to the question I asked you at the beginning. What if starting today no one could ever rule your mind again? Not through insults, not through fear, not through deception, not through authority. What if your thoughts were your own, your reactions your choice, your principles your anchor, and your presence unshakable? That is not just an idea to dream about. It is the reality you begin to build the moment you decide to take back what was always yours. We have walked through 8 lessons together, each one a stone in the fortress of your mind. First, I asked you to protect your mind from intrusion, to stop letting others plant their doubts and fears inside you. Then I showed you how mastering your reactions gives you back the strings people try to pull. From there, I asked you to shift from emotion to strategy, to stop reacting blindly and start calculating like a strategist. I asked you to look beyond words into motives, to train your sight so you can see manipulation before it traps you. I showed you how detachment clears your judgment, how controlling the flow of information protects your narrative, how building inner authority roots you in your own principles, and finally, how projecting unshakable presence makes you untouchable in the eyes of others. Each of these lessons is powerful on its own, but together they form something greater. Together they form sovereignty, the state of being where your mind is yours alone. And once you reach that point, you will find a freedom unlike any other. You will no longer waste your life chained to the moods, tricks, and commands of others. You will no longer hand your power away every time someone pushes your buttons. Instead, you will stand in the center of your own mind, like a ruler who cannot be overthrown. Do not misunderstand me. This does not mean life will suddenly become easy. People will still try to deceive you, still try to provoke you, still try to bend you to their will. But when you have built this fortress, when you have claimed your sovereignty, none of it will matter. Their efforts will fall against your walls and shatter. Their manipulations will pass through your silence and dissolve. Their authority will stand outside your gates, powerless, because you did not invite them in. This is the principle Machiavelli left us. Freedom begins where control ends. The world may rule your body, circumstances may rule your fortune, but only you decide who rules your mind. And if you guard it fiercely, if you cultivate it daily, then no one, no leader, no enemy, no manipulator, no false friend, will ever hold dominion over you again. So I want you to claim it now. Do not just listen and nod. Declare it, write it, say it, own it. I am the ruler of my mind. That is the final act of this lesson. The words are simple, but the choice behind them is absolute. Once you make it, once you live it, you are no longer a puppet. You are sovereign. You are untouchable. And from that moment on, no one will ever rule your mind again.